Right now, as you watch this, there is a place on Earth so deep, so dark, and so utterly hostile that more human beings have walked on the surface of the moon than have ever reached the bottom of it. Think about that. We have stood on another world. We have driven robots across the deserts of Mars, and yet the deepest point of our own planet, a place sitting quietly a few miles beneath ships that sail over it every single day, is still one of the last great unknowns left on Earth. We have only been down there a handful of times. And almost every single time we go, we come back with something we did not expect. Something alive that should not be able to exist. Something that looks like it belongs on another planet entirely. And waiting right at the very bottom, in the deepest, most untouched corner of the world, there is one thing that should genuinely disturb you. I will show you that last, because it is not a creature, it is not a monster, and it is the reason this whole story matters. This is the Mariana Trench. Let's go down. The first thing you have to understand is the scale, because your brain will simply refuse to hold it. The deepest point is called Challenger Deep, and it drops about 11 kilometers straight down, nearly 7 miles. Here is the only way to really feel that. Take Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on the surface of the Earth. Pick it up. Drop the entire thing into the trench. And the peak, the summit that kills climbers, that pokes up into the jet stream, would still be sitting more than 2 kilometers underwater. The whole mountain gone, beneath the waves, with room to spare. And you do not dive down to a place like that. You fall. The first 2 men ever to do it, back in 1960, spent almost 5 hours sinking alone, sealed inside a tiny metal ball, into water that turned blacker and colder with every passing minute, watching the very last of the sunlight vanish somewhere far above their heads. But the dark is not what would kill you. The pressure is. Down at the bottom, the ocean presses in with over 1,000 times the force you feel on your skin right now, around 8 tons on every square inch of you. Picture the weight of dozens of jumbo jets, stacked up and balanced on a single square the size of your thumbnail. A human body unprotected would not drown down there. It would be crushed flat in an instant, gone before the brain even had time to understand what happened. So here is a place that is nearly impossible to reach, and instantly lethal when you arrive. Freezing, black, silent, crushed under an unimaginable weight. Nothing could possibly live there, and that is the first thing the trench proves completely wrong. Because down in that perfect darkness, there are creatures thriving where every rule we know says they should be dead. There are single-celled organisms the size of your open hand. Let that land for a second. One cell as big as your palm, drifting along the bottom, quietly pulling lead and uranium and mercury out of the water and storing the poison inside its own body. There are pale, translucent fish that haunt a depth we now think is a genuine hard limit, a line in the water below which the pressure simply forbids anything with a spine from existing. And there are shrimp-like animals that have grown to a monstrous size in the cold and the black. Not one of them has ever seen the sun. They never needed it. Down there, life feeds on a slow, endless snowfall of death from above, the bodies of everything that dies in the ocean drifting down as pale flakes, and on raw chemicals bleeding out of the planet itself. An entire thriving living world built completely without light. And I promise you, the creatures are not even the strangest thing down there, because this is the part where the bottom of the ocean stops feeling like Earth at all. In one spot on the trench floor, there is a lake of molten sulfur, an actual churning pool of liquid brimstone, bubbling away at nearly 200 degrees. And here is the detail that should stop you cold. The only other place in the entire solar system where we know a pool like that exists is not somewhere else on Earth. It is on Io, one of the volcanic moons of Jupiter. Right beside it, there is a vent that does not erupt water or lava, but almost pure liquid carbon dioxide. And there are volcanoes made of mud, the largest ones on the whole planet, slowly pumping seawater down through the crust and into the mantle far below. That last one is quietly the most unsettling of all, because it means the trench is a place where the very floor of the ocean is being dragged downward and swallowed. The Earth here is slowly eating its own seabed. The ground you are imagining standing on is not permanent. It is a conveyor belt, sliding forever down into the dark. And then, in 2014, the trench did something we still can barely explain. Instruments picked up a sound, a strange, metallic, 5-part call, rising up out of the deep. And for years, no one could say what it was. No known animal, no known machine. It got a name, the Western Pacific Biowing, and it sat there as a genuine mystery, a noise coming from the bottom of the world with no source we could find. Now, I am going to be honest with you, because this channel always is. The best answer we have now is that it was probably a whale. Less of a monster, more of a mammal. But sit for a moment with what that means anyway. The deepest place on our planet was down there, in the black, making a sound, for years, and every scientist on the surface could do nothing but listen and admit they had no idea what was making it. So take a step back and look at the whole picture we have built. The most remote place on Earth, deeper than the tallest mountain, cold enough, dark enough, and crushing enough to erase you in a heartbeat. Home to creatures that need no sun, and chemistry we have otherwise only found on the moons of other planets. A place we have visited fewer times than the moon, that we have mapped worse than Mars, that still hides sounds we cannot name. The last true wilderness. The final untouched place, 7 miles down, where almost no human will ever go. And when we finally sent something all the way to the very bottom, to the single deepest point a person has ever reached, do you want to know what was there, waiting for us? A plastic bag. And a scattering of candy wrappers. The deepest piece of trash ever recorded on planet Earth is an ordinary plastic bag, lying on the floor of the Mariana Trench. And it does not stop at what you can see. When scientists hauled up those little shrimp-like creatures, the ones living in the most isolated spot on the entire planet, and tested their bodies, they found them saturated with banned industrial poisons, chemicals we made illegal decades ago. Sitting inside these animals at levels higher than in creatures from some of the most polluted rivers on Earth. And in one study, every single animal they pulled out of the Mariana Trench had plastic inside its gut. Not most of them, all of them. Really understand what that is telling us. We have never properly explored this place. We have sent more people to the moon than to its floor. We still do not have a real map of it. And yet, somehow, our garbage got there before we did. Our poison arrived in the deepest, blackest, most untouched corner of the world, ahead of the first human eyes to ever see it. That is the truly disturbing secret at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. It was never the pressure, or the darkness, or the alien creatures, or the strange sound in the deep. It is that even here, even at the absolute bottom of everything, 7 miles down, in the last place on Earth we had not touched, we had already been. So the next time you stand at the edge of the sea, and feel the sand fall away beneath your feet, and picture all that dark water sinking down and down into the unknown, remember what is genuinely waiting at the bottom of it. Not a monster, not an empty, untouched deep. Just the quietest, deepest proof that there is nowhere left on this planet we have not already reached, and already changed without ever meaning to, and without ever really looking.